The deadly shooting at the Orlando East Tavern has angered the community. Families of 15 victims are still trying to come to terms with what happened. eNCA reporter Moloko Moloto is following up with them and joins us for an update. Moloko, truly such a tragedy, and it seems as though the police minister's visit together with other officials is not really comforting communities there, because they have been crying out for help for some time.
That is very correct, Heidi. The people of this area, Nomzamo section in Orlando, are still reeling in shock, really, following the killing of those young people inside that tavern. Heidi, as you walk past that particular tavern, and perhaps just to give our viewers a picture, unfortunately we couldn't go in because it's been locked, but essentially it is just a garage. And according to information we're hearing here, the gunmen, when they stormed into that garage, they closed the door and started firing. And according to the police minister, they found about 127 cartridges of AK-47. So the gunmen really were out here to kill. And the police minister is saying that actually the majority of those who either are deceased or were injured on that fateful night, they come from KwaZulu-Natal, and he's saying they've already identified 5 people whom he says they were driving that minibus taxi on that night, the gunmen, and he says they are also from KwaNongoma in KwaZulu-Natal. But another thing, Heidi, that I think I should point out here is that in the streets where we are at now, there are 5 people who lived in this street, and they unfortunately died among those 15 people. And we are told that the youngest were actually 19. In fact, I spoke earlier with one family. They lost a 19-year-old Stembiso Gamede, who also passed on there. And you could see the pain that was so palpable in the eyes of the mother and the father, really finding it difficult to hold the rolling tears from their faces. But also, Heidi, we also learned, actually, they agreed to speak to us. The family of Njoli, they lost 2 sons. The siblings, their names are Stembiso and Luyanda, aged 34 and 19 respectively. They come from Zimkulu in KwaZulu-Natal. Their mother is inside this shack on my left, and she is really pained. But also, in the very same house where this shack is located, as my colleague Lingenda Bambi is showing you, there's also a man who also passed on. He stayed in the house that you are seeing behind this particular shack, and his name is Sifiso Sosibo. He was 44. But let me bring into this conversation Mr. Sipho Leswetsa. You also stay in this house. Maybe just remind us, when did you learn that the 3 people who stay in the same yard with you were among the people who were killed on that night?
That day, on Saturday, by 10 o'clock, I hear guns outside. By that time I was sleeping. Emveni koko akwazi ukuphuma kaphe kule lokishi bangaba kusive guns ngoba zisho every day. I decided uba ngilale. Akwazanga ukulala. Uthe ebusuku njalo kwafika umuntu ozongixelela uba hey, lo muntu uhlala naye akasekho, ulimele lapha emazulwini. Sivukile saya khona siyojonga uba kwenzeka ntoni. Masifika khona sele eshonile yena noLiyanda seyishonile. Umuntu bengashoni benguSithembiso. Abantu bobathathu endibabalayo ndihlala nabo pheyadini. uSosibo yena wasemzimkhulu kwaChaka bendihlala naye endlini sobabini.
Well, Heidi, essentially he's saying all the 3 people, he stayed with them in this household. Of course, he shared the house with Sosibo, and the Mjoli brothers were staying together in the shack here. But I want to know, the 3 people that you stayed with, having died in that brutal manner, how are you adjusting to this reality? Usizwa kanjani?
Ndibuhlungu kakhulu ngokushona kwabo ngoba lo behlala sobabini sizathu ba sifamily one kuba behlala sonke so-3 njengoba beshone bobathathu nje lapha eyathi nisesele sibabini abafana abantu abahlala lapha so kuyavakala uba inceba linzulu lona lokushiya ngalamadoda abesihlala nawo ewe bobathathu babuye emzimkhulu buhlungu into yenzekileyo.
Yeah, just finally, as we walked past that garage, you can see the bullet holes, the blood stains still on the ground. I'm not too sure if you have had time to walk past there and witness that aftermath of that incident and what is going through your mind.
Yeah, ngihambile lapha siyale sibizwa lapha kuba ndihamba notata kaSithembiso. Sibonile imingxunya yebullet phaa negazi elihambayo endleleni. Kubuhlungu igaraji yonke izimbobo neembobo lapha. Kubuhlungu kugcwele igazi kuyo yonke indawo lapha kulawujika khona. Into enjalo nje asiziva kamnandi tu ngoba kwestrato sisodwa nje abantu abashonileyo bayi5 abashone kulaa ngozi ipipa.
All right, thank you so much, Sipho Le Tswetsa. He really explaining that it's paining seeing the blood that's still there on the ground and the bullet holes that are still there on the door, Heidi. Explaining that 5 people from this particular street unfortunately lost their lives on that fateful night. Of course, the Minister, Bheki Cele, has announced that they are going to beef up security here, admitting that this particular hotspots really require attention, and he has given about 5 police vans that he says are going to be dedicated to this section. It is quite a small section, I must indicate, and he's also pointing out that they are going to be working together with other stakeholders, for instance, the city of Johannesburg as well, Heidi.
I do hope that the intervention does actually work, because seeing the pain on that gentleman's face that you were speaking to, life just cannot be like this. Something really has to give. Thank you so much for that report. That was reporter Moloko Moloto out in Soweto for us.